Hey everyone, we're just waiting for a few folks to come in. It's an exhausted Waj, but a less exhausted Allison. So it'll be good. I'm trying my best to continue as I think I'm battling some cold and got the sniffles. But we keep going. And I'm so happy that Allison of Muller She Wrote, but also of The Breakdown and also the Daily Beans podcast has joined us. If you do not subscribe to The Breakdown, you must. Like me, she's a terrible capitalist. Everything is free. She depends on the kindness of strangers. So please be a paid subscriber. And she also has the Daily Beans podcast, and she also does fantastic videos for Midas over on YouTube. And she gets these tasty, delicious scoops from tipsters. And the latest tipster, this piece that Allison had just 2 days ago, Epstein Files tipster tells Allison about her friend being trafficked to Epstein through Donald Trump's modeling agency. That is a whopper, Allison, because I just want to remind people the president of the United States of America, Donald Trump, was Jeffrey Epstein's closest friend. They partied in the 90s, or as Susan Wiles says, oh, young men, young playboys. He was 50. And furthermore, we know that Melania Trump, Donald Trump's wife, was introduced to him by, wait for it, Jeffrey Epstein. And according to Michael Wolff, the first time Donald and Melania had sex was on Jeffrey's Lolita Express. But Donald Trump doesn't know anything about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. That was a long time ago. And if he did, oh, they were just young men partying and there's nothing to see here. And let's move on and look at Somalis and Haitians. But there is more, Allison. Talk to us about this tipster, this fantastic story. I mean, not fantastic, terrible story, but a fantastic scoop.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, we all knew that from the Wall Street Journal recently that Donald Trump was trafficking girls and women to Epstein and Maxwell through his spot, Mar-a-Lago. So it stands to reason, and we've sort of, kind of had a feeling that he was, trafficking girls through his modeling agency. And about a year ago, somebody reached out to me and said, "Hey, you're doing a FOIA on the Epstein stuff, right? You're doing a FOIA." And I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Well, if you need a very specific document to look for, I can describe one for you." She said, I contacted the FBI after remember the press conference? They had a press conference after they arrested Epstein. They had a press conference after they arrested Ghislaine Maxwell. And July 2nd, 2020, they arrested Ghislaine Maxwell. They had a press conference and said, if you or anyone you know has any information about anyone who was trafficked or abused or assaulted by Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, call us, 1-800-CALL-FBI. And so this person called and told the FBI, left a brief voicemail. And the reason that this sort of, everybody kind of knows about these tips is because this weekend or on Friday, Thursday or Friday, when the DOJ released this final batch of Epstein documents, totaling now about half of the actual documents that they have, there was some highlighted, some not, Excel spreadsheet of tips that were called into an FBI tip line. And the reason that everybody kind of saw those and they went viral is because the DOJ immediately pulled them down after releasing them. So everybody screen capped, made copies, sent it around. DOJ took this down. DOJ took this down. Now, eventually, DOJ put it back up. And one of those tips was that a woman had called in July of 2020 and said exactly what this person told me they had reported to the FBI when they contacted me a year ago, trying to give me like, hey, look for this specific document, because she wanted the FBI 302. Because after she left a voicemail for the FBI called her and left a voicemail, and I showed a screenshot of that voicemail from the FBI, Special Agent Burke in the New York field office, called to schedule a formal interview. And this person sat for the formal interview. Then I was able to confirm a second person that was there during this formal interview. And during the formal interview, where this tipster, talked about all of the things that had gone on in these parties and on these yachts, and it was the Trump modeling agency photographer that had trafficked her when she was 14 to 16 years old to Donald Trump. This was her best friend at the time. And she was also told to bring her hot friends to these parties, tried to bring her friend, this tipster, but the friend had brown hair, and they said, no, Trump only wants blondes. And Trump would inspect these models that would be recruited for these parties on yachts and things like that. And she told the whole story about the Trump modeling agency and everything that happened to her friend and how she was involved. And that 302 of that formal interview, a 302 is a form that the FBI agents fill out when they conduct a formal interview, nowhere to be found in this release. So it's a lot like when I interviewed Annie Farmer, Maria Farmer's sister, and they got that 1996 302, but it was only about Epstein. The other stuff that Maria Farmer told the FBI, all of those 302s were missing, the ones that have to do with Donald Trump in that initial document dump into the portal. So it seemed clear to me that they're withholding these 302s. And so, I spoke to this tipster who wanted to tell the whole story, tell the story that, the account of the events that she told the FBI in that formal interview that we don't have a 302 for. And that's what I had posted up on the Midas Touch Network, um, and that it was Trump's modeling agency. And there were very specific details that, only these folks would know that were there about Trump inspecting the models. They only want blondes. And then what happened to these folks? They were actually promised massage school will pay for your massage certification, so
Virginia
that you
Giuffre.
so that you can do what you need to do for the Trump modeling parties, but also, get a job being a certified massage therapist when we're done with you, I guess. So a lot of promises were made. They were groomed, told that they would help their career. She wanted to also, the woman, the best friend of the tipster, also wanted to be a singer and an actress. And they're like, oh, we can help Jeffrey Epstein. Said, we can help you with that. And the thing that kind of rang the bell of this tipster was that her best friend showed her a photo. Oh, this is the guy who's going to help me with my career. This is the guy I'm dating. Like, she felt like it was a kind of a sugar daddy situation when she was 14, 15 years old. And when Epstein got arrested and Epstein's photo was in the paper, this tipster recognized that photo as being the one that was shown to her when they were on a boat together, on the standing by the rail of the boat on the edge of the boat. So all of this came out, and I published it here on the breakdown. You can actually watch the video, read the story, read the testimonial. But this is one of thousands, Waj. And I think the overarching story here is that the actual 302s are missing from these tipsters. And so that, are they with the rest of Maria Farmer's 302s? Are they part of the 3 million of the 6 million documents that this DOJ is refusing to release? And don't forget, the 15-day um, clock was supposed to start on December 19th when they were supposed to release all the files. And then after the release, they were supposed to have 15 days for Pam Bondi to explain what documents she withheld, why she withheld them, what she redacted, and why she redacted stuff. But Pam Bondi was sort of hinting at, well, we're going to do a rolling production and it'll be the 15-day clock starts after that rolling production, which is not what the law says. But if that is the case, and Todd Blanche has said that this previous release was the final release, they have until Valentine's Day. Pam Bondi has until Valentine's Day to explain why she withheld half, at least. This is just of that we know of these documents.
It's just, ugh. As you were saying that, because it all swirls back. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein partied for 10 years in the 90s. Michael Wolff told me, and Michael Wolff's also an interesting, I would say, compromised character, but nonetheless, he has hundreds of hours of conversations, interviews with Epstein. He has shared one where Jeffrey Epstein said, I was Donald Trump's closest friend for 10 years. They chased models. Michael Wolff told me twice. I asked him, what are the ages of these models, Allison? He said 14 to 19. We know that Epstein and Donald Trump both then started modeling agencies. We also know that Donald Trump then took over Miss USA and Miss Teen USA. We have, if I remember correctly, Allison, 3 or 4 different accounts of women who were then girls, teenagers, saying that Donald Trump, who was in his 50s at the time, uh, went through their dressing rooms as they were changing their clothes as teenagers. We know that Donald Trump has been held liable for raping E. Jean Carroll. We have the Access Hollywood tape of him bragging about grabbing women by the pee. All the allegations that we have, it seems consistent with a pattern of Donald Trump being violent towards women, pushing them up against walls, grabbing them, and then later essentially threatening them or saying, "Didn't you like it?" Well, we also have, Allison, I don't know if you saw this. This was released in the last couple of days. This was sworn testimony, not anonymous tip under penalty of perjury from a girl I want to quote this. I personally witnessed defendant Trump telling the plaintiff that she shouldn't ever say anything if she didn't want to disappear like the 12-year-old female blank, the name is redacted, and that he was capable of having her whole family killed. I declare under penalty of perjury, the foregoing is true and correct. June 18th, 2016, Tiffany Doe.
Mhm. Yeah, and this tipster that I spoke to, her friend, the one that was trafficked through the modeling agency, at one point ended up, being, drugged and left for dead in front of a hospital. So, um, she's got now, children and a husband, is trying her best, to survive and live the, best life she possibly can after what happened to her. But this is a pattern, as you said. Apparently not a pattern that anyone else can see, but, most Americans. We've got Todd Blanche saying it's not a crime to party with Epstein, which is now we know where they're going. At first it was, "Hey, they're 14, they're not 8 years old, they're 14 years old." Now it's not a crime to party with Epstein because a lot of these files, these were the reason it took so long, this was, uh, strategically released. There's a lot of stuff in there that are tips, no 302s, right? I mean, if there are 302s, then they're something that never went, to court. Um, but it seems like it's a lot about Summers and the Clinton people they don't like, right? And then things that can be discredited, like pretty wild stories that came in about Andy McCabe and, all these other odd things that don't make any sense to throw into question the validity of the entirety of the Epstein files. Meanwhile, half of them are being held back. And then we have this story, and there's a new court filing about this, that there were at least 40 nude images of girls that were
Yep.
released, not redacted, but they're redacting Trump's face
Face.
standing
Yeah.
behind a podium. Like, oh, we'll never guess who that bloated fellow in the blue coat with the too long red tie is that says Trump speaks at so and so thing underneath it. We'll never know who that is. Gosh, what a mystery. So they were very meticulous to remove perpetrators, Trump, friends of Trump, allies of Trump, but didn't give two shits about the identity and the protection of the survivors, which is a long existing pattern. They've been leaving the survivors out every step of the way. So
And if people are saying, what's a 302? It's the initial witness interview, right? In the transcript.
yeah, if you sit down for a formal interview with the FBI, they memorialize it in what's called a 302. That's what a 302 is.
And so you see, yeah, you see, even folks, it's so much stuff, but there's deliberate. To Allison's point, Allison, can you remind us? Gosh, it was almost a year ago, maybe like 9 months ago, where FBI agents were tasked not with investigating the validity of these allegations of, oh, I don't know, sex trafficking, but they were actually tasked to sit and go through all the Epstein files and redact Donald Trump's name, and they were using the Excel sheet.
Yeah, an Excel sheet to log, and they were sent training videos on how to redact Donald Trump's name, how to mark it, log it in a Excel spreadsheet, a master Excel spreadsheet, a local Excel spreadsheet, how to put your local Excel spreadsheet in the master Excel spreadsheet. This was all from an interview I had with one of the FBI analysts at the Information Management Division, about 1,000 of them at least, that were locked in the building for 24 and 48-hour shifts. They weren't allowed to leave. That had never happened. I spoke to multiple FBI agents at IMD who were like, never been told I couldn't leave the building until this was done, paid them $1 million in overtime.
Wow.
Uh, I have filed a Freedom of Information Act request for those training videos. Democracy Forward filed a training or a Freedom of Information Act request for the Excel spreadsheet. And we actually have a hearing today in front of Judge Boasberg on our Doge Freedom of Information Act request. So I've got a few of those going on up in the air, and I've written about all of them. You can see all of them here on Substack. Again, zero paywalls. It's all free here on the breakdown. And you can read all of those. But it was in March of last year that
There
they
you go.
did that, March 14th or so, for the second half of that month. And then it was in July that those agents from not just the FBI, but some folks from the Department of Justice also that reached out to me to tell me about what they saw, what they learned, what they were put through, what they were told they had to do. But the the big sticking point that pretty much every FBI agent on this was, they didn't ask us to redact the survivors' names
That's
at
right.
first. They only asked us to go redact Trump's names and some other prominent people that are friends of his, and we had to demand that we redact the survivors' names. So this, again, it's a common theme to abandon the survivors. They did it in 2007. They didn't tell them about the sweetheart deal as they were supposed to under law. They didn't tell them when this DOJ went to court to try to get grand jury testimony from an FBI agent in one of the Maxwell and Epstein, I think the Epstein case.
And
Um,
wasn't it the judge who said, "No, you can release it on your own. If I release it, I'll be exposing the victims."
Yeah, well, he said a couple of things. The first one was, you are supposed to give us all of the victims' information statements and their position, and you failed to do that. So please file that by this deadline because you failed to do that by law. Again, forgetting about the survivors. But yeah, they were like, this is a 76-page FBI grand jury testimony. He's the only person who testified to the grand jury. This is nothing. You have millions and millions of pages, DOJ, of the Epstein files that you can release whenever you want. So don't try to use me as an excuse if I tell you no under certain Rule 6E or whatever that I can't release these to protect the survivors. Don't come back and tell me or tell the public, see, we wanted to release the Epstein files, but this judge said no because I'm only presiding over these 76 pages. That's kind of how it went. And there were actually survivors who wrote in too, including Annie Farmer, who I interviewed here. Again, you can find that on my Substack. Um, who wrote the judge a letter and said, please instruct the Department of Justice not to use this as a sword and a shield to say that we can't release the Epstein files, or if we can, it's because a judge told us we had to redact these certain things. So it's the same story. It's the cover-up's been going on in earnest for since January 21st, when Donald Trump came in and closed the open Biden-era investigation into Epstein's co-conspirators. They had about 50 witnesses, survivors, that were testifying with the Southern District of New York in an open and ongoing investigation. Trump came in, shut that investigation down, stole all the files from the Southern District of New York and the New York FBI field office, sent them to D.C. to hoard them and do whatever they wanted, burn them. I don't know what they did with them, and then fired the prosecutors, including Maureen Comey. So the cover-up is insidious, and it's been going on for quite a while.
And also, folks, speaking about the cover up, I'm glad you said it because that was going to be my follow up question. I think this is very clearly a cover up. This is the biggest political cover up of our lifetime, of certainly modern times, and no one has explained. I mean, speaking about cover up, if this is not enough for you, still no one's explained why Ghislaine Maxwell is in a minimum security camp in Texas. Oh, and yeah, by the way, she was sent to that minimum security camp a few days, less than a week after meeting Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who is Donald Trump's personal attorney, who, as Allison said yesterday, in order to, gosh, he made it worse. on Laura Ingram's show on Fox, said, I mean, partying with Epstein isn't a crime. And I'm like, man, if that's what you're going with, I remember I tweeted that out yesterday. I'm like, Republicans, pro tip, this is not going to help you. Partying with a pedophile isn't a crime. And I'm like, oh boy. And then Attorney General Todd Blanche 2 days ago said, this is it, Allison. We're not going to get anything else. No more. Halas, finish. And the rest of us are like, I think we have a lot more questions than answers, especially about Donald Trump. And also, I want to remind everyone, Melania Trump. I am really curious about Melania Trump because I think she kind of gets forgotten. And she came out with this documentary. I don't know if you heard about it. This documentary in which Amazon spent $40 million, actually a total of $70 million, to produce and promote it as a way of currying favor with Donald Trump. And Allison, do you know who directed this Melania documentary?
Somebody who appeared in the Epstein files?
Yes, Brett Ratner. What could it be? A shock? Could it be a surprise?
I'm super surprised. Some guy, who's been incredibly accused of sexual misconduct, ended up being in the Epstein files and directing the Melania movie. It's like,
Shocking.
it's hard. It's so hard to find people to produce these films so that they can set up their bribe with Bezos. It's almost as hard as trying to find somebody to be a Department of Justice lawyer right now.
It's like you had to, only Brett Ratner's aesthetic touch could have been the choice that was needed for this documentary. I mean, folks, it's so disgusting. And furthermore, when it comes to Melania, I just want to remind people, Melania was allegedly introduced to Donald Trump by Jeffrey Epstein. According to Michael Wolff, Jeffrey Epstein said the first time Melania and Donald Trump had sex, I know this is going to be gross, was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane jet, which was called Lolita Express. And also Melania was a model. And Melania was introduced to Glenn and Jeffrey. And in this latest batch, she was really friendly with Glenn. So I'm just really curious, Melania.
We should Jim Comer should bring her in to testify. I mean, I get the Clintons are going to go in and testify, but you should bring Melania in to testify.
I think you should bring in Donald Trump and Melania. And you actually led me to my point is, I think you should bring in Melania. You should bring in Donald Trump. You should bring in Howard Lutnick. You should bring in Peter Thiel. You should bring in Elon Musk. You should bring in Dr. Atiyah. But none of those people who are being called by Republicans. They really want Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. And yesterday, Hillary and Bill said, okay, we'll do it. We'll come testify. Their latest request is that it's made public. I think that's very smart. I also think it's a good idea for them to agree to do it. And I think now the ball is in Trump's court. If I were them, I would just simply say, yeah, we went there, but after we found out he was a pedophile, we didn't hang out with him. You know who really hung out with him? Donald Trump. You should talk to if you really want to know about Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump. If I was Bill and Hillary, that's what I would do for the entire.
That's what I would do it the whole time. I would do that the whole entire time. Hey, Lutnick, he's working for the administration. You could bring him in, right? It's kind of mind-boggling that they're. My favorite part was Jim Comer was like on the House Oversight Committee. He's like, the Clintons are only agreeing to testify because they want to avoid contempt charges, and I'm like, yeah, is that okay? Maybe Jim Jordan could have done that. But we talk about how embarrassing this is and how low morale is inside this administration, at least with career professionals. The Department of Justice is falling apart right now. Another 8 people from the Minneapolis U.S. Attorney's Office quit, in addition to the 6 that have already left. We've got right now, there's breaking news from a Department of Justice lawyer who says DOJ attorney Julie Lay said when Judge Jerry Blackwell pressed her on why so many court orders are being ignored by ICE in Minneapolis, she said, quote, "The system sucks, this job sucks." And then she asked to be held in contempt just so she could get 24 hours of sleep.
Wow.
That happened in a courtroom right now.
Is this mainly because
about an hour ago?
Is this because, I mean, for those who don't know, after ICE agent Jonathan Ross murdered Renee Nicole Good while her body was still warm, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem called her a domestic terrorist and lied about her and said she tried to weaponize her car against the ICE agent. Then there was an active, I call it an active cover up, because state and local officials still don't have access to all the evidence because federal authorities are blocking that. Same thing with the murder of Alex Preddy. And then instead of actually investigating Officer Ross, they were pressing on prosecutors to investigate Renee Nicole Good's widow, which then prompted, as Allison said, prosecutors to simply say, no, we quit. Is it because of ICE? Is it because of Epstein? What caused the latest?
Well, I think this is sort of a snowball effect, right? Like big things happen, a bunch of people leave. Big things happen. Eric Adams, a bunch of people resigned. The Minneapolis, Renee Good, a bunch of people resigned. Alex Preddy, a bunch of people resigned. Then you've got Doge coming in and getting and Todd Blanche getting rid of the public corruption unit, getting rid of firing 200 national security lawyers. Getting rid of all of these departments, gutting the Civil Rights Division and turning it into the Civil Rights Division to protect white people. That all combined. So you have these events, you have resignations, and then you end up with just a few lawyers, so few lawyers that was it Chad Mizell, who works at the Department of Justice, put out on Twitter, hey, want to be a lawyer? Want to be a assistant U.S. attorney? DM me. Yeah, Joyce, Van, a bunch of people who used to work at the Justice Department were like, we used to have hundreds and hundreds of applicants for single jobs. And now nobody wants to work here. And they're putting out posts on Twitter. Hey, slide into my DMs if you want to party with Epstein or no, not party with Epstein. Slide into my DMs if you want to work for the Department of Justice. We need good people because everybody's leaving, gone, fired, took the fork in the road, or has resigned in protest for something. There's nobody left. They're so desperate. And the only lawyers now that, you can't put Rudy in there. He's disbarred. You can't put Chesbro in there. He's disbarred. So they, it's the morale is so low. It's the same at the FBI. It's the same across government right now.
And that's where we got the leaks. I mean, folks, the leak,
Yeah.
and let's just be petty for a second because it's fun and we need some good news. Where else would the leak have come that Kash Patel was so vain and wanted to be seen as a tough guy that he wouldn't deboard the plane until he was given an FBI jacket to make the presser after Charlie Kirk's murder? And then they found him. The only jacket that they could find was a medium female FBI jacket. And as we've said, there's nothing wrong with a medium female FBI jacket. If I'm cold, I will wear a medium female FBI jacket. I don't care. But for cosplay crusaders who want to be tough, that is humiliating. And that humiliating information, that story that leaked, it can only come from the FBI.
The only way to make it better is if there were like a bunch of tampons in the pocket. That would be like the only way to emasculate that man more. And again, not because tampons are weird or the female FBI agents are weird, but because he is such a misogynist a-hole that, hell yeah, hey, there's a pen in that pocket, reach in, pulls out. That would just
That'd
be
be hilarious because there's
chef's
so
kiss.
the fact is, okay, well, I want to ask you this, Allison, that because I asked this question of people, is it better to stay and be a bulwark, or does it come to a point where you're like, you know what? It's not worth it.
I
I'm
talked to
complicit.
Andy about this. A lot of this isn't really a choice, even though it seems like a choice. Generally, what's happening here is Todd Blanche or Akash Singh or whoever, Mizell, is coming to these attorneys and saying, you need to open a civil rights investigation into Renee Good instead of close the one into Jonathan Ross and open one into Renee Good. And if you don't do that, I will fire you. And so then the assistant U.S. attorney says, I'm going to resign in that case. And the reason that they do that, resign rather than be fired, I know a lot of people are like, stay and get fired. If you want to work for the government again, you have spent your whole life taking a massive pay cut to be a civil servant. And if you ever want to work for the government again, you can't have that dismissal on your record. So they resign. And they do that because also you can resign loudly. There's a whole group right now of former DOJ lawyers who are putting up their resignation letters and talking about why they resigned. You can resign loudly. And it preserves your ability to come back and work for the Department of Justice if you want, in a new administration, if you want to hold these ice holes accountable, for example. Like somebody might be like, I do want to come back in 2029 and work for the Department of Justice so I can prosecute uh, the murderers of Alex Preddy, right? Jesse Ochoa and Raimundo Gutierrez, because there's no statute of limitations on murder. I want to be able to come back and work. You can't have that. You can't do that generally if you were fired. And so rather than do the illegal thing, rather than violate their oath of office and be fired, they resign. That is why most people are resigning. And I kind of
That's
wanted
very
to
helpful.
put that out there because I know a lot of people are like, stay, fight the power, don't leave until you're fired. Maybe if you're like Christopher Wray, but not if you're Jane Doe lawyer number 462 who wants to come back and prosecute these jerks in another 3 years. Do you know what I mean?
No, no,
Anyway.
no. That was very helpful because it's tough and, it's easier said than done. And it's, if you stay, are you complicit? If you stay, though, because I talked to someone, just real quick for people, I talked to someone in the first Trump administration. And a friend of mine, I'm here in DC, Virginia. A friend of mine who was in DHS said, I just wanted you to meet this person off the record. And this was a young woman from Ohio, white, conservative, Christian, late 20s in DHS. And she said, I don't know if I should stay or leave. If I leave, they're going to replace me with psychopaths. You have no idea who is in this Trump administration. But at the same time, I feel like I'm going crazy if I stay. But if I don't stay, someone worse who doesn't care about America and American national security will take over. So there is something, folks, for you to know. And that's why I'm spending a little bit of time on this.
Mhm.
This is not a small decision for people.
No, it's a life decision. When I lost my job at the VA, I was there for 12 years. I was going to retire there. That was my identity, right? My mid-level civil servant, thankless job, making ducats, even with a PhD in health. I could have gone to work for United Healthcare for 10 times the money. Do I want to work for United Healthcare? Hell no, I do not. I want to be of service, and it's an identity for a lot of people. Um,
Go ahead.
it's- that's just kind of, but this is happening in the media too. I have friends who work for CBS who have come to me and asked me, like, should I leave? Should I? I'm not being censored yet, but and I'm like, then stay and fight, right? And when you leave, be loud about it. But it's a little different when you work for a federal government agency because you will never be able to return if you're fired.
And speaking about you spent your life, your career, you've built something. So the fact that they're resigning, folks, this is, I mean, just shows you that even they're like, you know what? I don't want to touch this. You know what? These are clowns. You know what? This is corrupt. You know what? You don't care about justice. All of it is in service of one man, a venal, corrupt rapist who most likely, I didn't say he did, but most likely, allegedly, raped girls with Epstein. And I don't know if you've seen this. I want to mention this. Ted Lieu, a congressman, came out today and said the following. Donald Trump is in, I'm quoting him, folks, a press conference.
Mhm.
Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands and thousands of times. In those,
58,000.
was that
58,000.
58,000 times? In those files, there's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children, of Donald Trump threatening to kill children. Well done, Ted Lieu. Also, check this out. This is from a document, and I just want to read it, just so people know who's the president of the United States right now. A name redacted asked blank about his time driving a limousine for 2 years in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. During blank time as a driver, he had met Donald Trump. Blank noted he picked the president up in 1995 and took him to the DFW airport. Blank reported some of the things President Trump had spoken about during the ride while on his cell phone that were very concerning. Blank reported he was, quote, a few seconds from pulling the limousine over on the median and within a few seconds of pulling him out of the car and hurting him due to some of the things he was saying. That's how upset he was. As caller chose not to. Blank noted Trump continuously stated the name Jeffrey while on the phone and made references to abusing some girl. Blank was unsure who he was talking to nor who he was referencing. As Blank talked about his time meeting Donald Trump, Blank immediately demeanor went stone cold as Blank stated, he raped me. Blank said, what? As Blank replied, Donald Trump had raped her along with Jeffrey Epstein. The individual noted that some girl with the funny name took me into a fancy motel or building. That's how it happened. Blank advised Blank to call the police regarding the incident. As Blank stated, I can't They will kill me. On Christmas Day, they said they in fact called the police of what they had talked about, and blank told blank she had done good, and she didn't. Well, he didn't hear from blank until 2000. They reached out stating blank was dead and noticed she was found with her head blown off in Kiefer, Oklahoma. Officers on the scene said there was no way it was a suicide.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Sorry, folks, for going into the detail with that, but that's in the Epstein files, folks. That
Story
means
after story after story after story.
folks, that it's not just that Donald Trump allegedly raped girls with Epstein. If you see some more stories and people have gone through this, there's even a message between Ghislaine and Epstein that talks about a torture snuff film. And there's also some evidence about girls disappearing. So not only allegedly is there rape, uh, Allison, there's allegations here about girls gone missing,
Mhm.
as in being eliminated.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I can't add to that. The horrificness speaks for itself, you know?
Folks, I don't think the story is going away. I've said the Epstein files are his Achilles cankel. Yes, there's a lot happening right now. Economy, ICE, immigration overreach, the corruption, his pathetic attempts to try to steal or rig the 2026 election. I still believe the biggest club is Epstein. And it's not just against Donald Trump. I think we've talked about this before, Allison, sadly, in a point you've brought up. I don't think he cares about the rape of the girls. I don't think he cares about the torture of the girls. I don't think he cares if people find out about it. I think what he cares about is everything else is revealed. His financial trails, his friends, his connections. I think that's what is scaring him about, oh, my friends will be revealed. Oh, this will be really bad for other people. I don't think, sadly, the rape stuff, he's like, yeah, whatever, America will forgive me. And honestly, Allison, let's be honest about it. What we found out from the last dump from 6 weeks ago, Farmer Sisters told the FBI in 1996, we think Epstein's a pedophile. FBI did nothing. Vicky Ward told me that she wrote a piece in Vanity Fair and mentioned the Farmer Sisters. Piece was spiked. 2007, you mentioned it. All those, was it 3 dozen girls, later women, were not informed of the sweetheart deal Alex Acosta gave Epstein, where he was able to rape 6 out of the 7 days a week for 13 months. And then all the documents that we have, Allison, that we've seen from these Epstein files, look at the date, folks. That's the first thing I look at, is the date of the emails. All of them are after 2008, which means all of them are after Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted pedophile. And none of these people cared, Allison.
The convicted sex offender.
Convicted sex offender, sorry.
Because he took a great deal to plead to 2 counts of prostitution. Yeah. I mean, that's something that I think a lot of people are pointing out, is that, a lot of these Elon Musk emails, Bannon emails, all happened in 2012, 2013, some in 2018, 2019. It seems pretty obvious, at least to most of us. But also, the other thing that's been growing in concern that has scared the hell out of this administration is Stephen Miller's ICE operations.
Yep.
We were at a point the other day when they released the Epstein files to distract from the ICE stuff. You see what happened on the Grammys with all of the artists speaking out on a massive stage with a huge megaphone. That was very comforting to see that I think a lot of America that night, for the first time in a while, maybe felt like they weren't alone and felt like they weren't crazy with what's going on with this indiscriminate murders on the streets. They're trying to take away the need to have warrants. Mike Johnson, who's a constitutional lawyer, today saying, "Oh no, administrative warrant issued by an immigration judge." Wrong. I-205 administrative warrants are signed by ICE officers, not immigration judges, and immigration judges are not judicial judges. It's not a judicial warrant, even if they did sign off on that. You have to have a judicial warrant to go into somebody's house. They spent 8 hours grilling Jack Smith about his legal subpoena into their toll records, into their phone records, but they are totally fine
Yep.
with masked, armed militants entering our homes without a search warrant. They only care about themselves. Lindsey Graham said he was going to block funding the government, not because he thinks ICE should be defunded, but because he wants his $1 million lawsuit on the Jack Smith toll records things to be in the bill. And if he doesn't get his way, damn it, I'm not going to fund the government. Um, and I'm over here like, great, defund ICE. You can't, because ICE operates during a shutdown because of the slush fund from the big ugly bill. But still, you get my catch my drift. They only care about themselves. They'll know FISA warrants. You shouldn't be able to listen to the Russians and then find out they're talking to what was that guy's name with the floppy hat that they did a FISA warrant on? Why can't I remember his name? Anyway, somebody who's not going to be remembered in history. Carter Page, that was his name.
Oh yeah, Carter. Well done. That's a deep cut.
You can't issue a FISA warrant against him. Actually,
Deep
yes, we
cut,
can.
Allison Gill. Well done, Carter
And
Page.
and why are you so adamant about us not being able to listen to what criminals say to Russians, but you're totally fine with violating our First Amendment rights, by arresting 4 Black journalists, violating our Second Amendment rights? They're against the Second Amendment now, and that had to happen, right? Because as we saw in Nazi Germany, I was like, Hitler went after the guns. I wonder how MAGA's going to go after the guns. That should be interesting to see. Now they're doing it. Our Fourth Amendment rights,
Yep.
of improper searches. It's and a constitutional lawyer, Mike Johnson. He's either I don't know what you're saying, or oh no, that's totally fine. It's
And now, hey, they were just partying with Epstein. That's not a crime.
Hey, it's not okay. So what I want, if somebody on here is a musician, we've seen Donald Trump guy. I'm a Donald Trump guy, not a Donald Trump guy, right? That remix. We've seen Christy Nome is a bird-legged hoe. That song, I love that. And now it's not a crime to party with Epstein. I would like those 3 things in a mix. I bet somebody could make a banger out of that.
It,
But that's going to be in every ad, I hope, in the midterms for accountability, because people who are running for Congress should be running to hold this regime accountable. And I hope they play "It's Not a Crime to Party with Epstein"
it's
over and over and over again.
it's one of those situations, folks, that I just talked to Miles Taylor about it, and he agrees with me. He says affordability with specifics is not enough. Someone has to run. If you want to get the millions of people out on the streets to vote during what's going to be, I think, mass intimidation, and I hope I'm wrong, violence, you need to run on affordability and accountability. And I
Mhm.
think you need someone who really, pro tip to Democrat, if you want to get the nomination and want to be a leader, it's not just affordability with specifics, but you should come out now. We will hold these people accountable. We're going to go after Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem, Pete Hegseth, Kash Patel, DHS Secretary, and Donald Trump. And this is how we're going to hold them accountable. In the absence of that, I don't think you're going to motivate people, because there's going to be a righteous rage against ICE, against DHS, against Stephen Miller, against all these people, because, folks, clearly, to what Allison is saying, they're engaged in a cover-up. Like, they're literally lying to your faces. And not just that now, because they're so immersed in the MAGA cult, because they've gone all the way in. Now they have to go against the Second Amendment to rationalize ICE terrorizing and killing Americans. And now they have to rationalize pedophilia and pedophile parties to protect Donald Trump.
Well, why do you
Literally, I'm
think
not
he
making
put his personal attorney, who tried to rationalize, hush money payment to an adult film star in order to influence an election? Why do you think he's got his personal attorneys in the Department of Justice? Because that's something a personal attorney says to someone who was caught raping and trafficking girls with Jeffrey Epstein. Hey, it's not a crime to party with Jeffrey Epstein. It's not
not
a
a crime.
crime.
Not a crime. Okay, run with that. And also, it gets even worse. Megyn Kelly, a couple of weeks ago, what did she say?
Oh, they're not 8. They're
They're
yeah.
barely legal.
Mhm.
First of all, she's wrong. It's illegal to have sex with a 14-year-old and 15-year-old. And what makes it worse is Megyn Kelly is a mother
Of a
of a girl
14-year-old,
around that
15.
same age. So now, folks, these people, these liars, these thoroughly corrupt, immoral, unethical people are, if you see it, moving the Overton window to rationalize partying with a pedophile in order to protect Donald Trump. And they're even willing to go against the one thing that they value more than anything, especially girls and kids: guns. That's
Mhm.
how desperate they are. I think they've overreached. I think they've lost the majority, Allison. What we saw in Texas, the double-digit wins, not double-digit wins, 34-point swing. What we see in Florida, where Cuban voters have gone for Dem. And by the way, if I can say this real quick, Allison, with that in Texas, it's not that these Latinos and independents went Democrat, even though they voted Democrat. These are Republican
Mhm.
Latino voters and
Yeah.
independents who said, "Oh, no, no, we haven't really switched parties, but we're gonna go against the Republicans."
Half of the people that voted in that election for Remit, half were registered Republicans.
That if I'm a Republican right now, that to me is I'm effed. It
That's scarier than, "Oh, Republicans just aren't showing up."
That's that we've lost our own base, which is what happened in, Florida, where Cubans voted for the first time in 30 years for the first Democratic mayor and the first female mayor. Folks, this is why when Donald Trump talks about taking over state elections, when he does a raid in Fulton County, when Pam Bondi threatens to extort Governor Walz for voter rolls, literally, they are not going to leave legally and peacefully. The only way we fight back is through the numbers. Final question I have for you, because I'm really curious. We've seen the votes. Uh, there's 10 days still left to vote for DHS spending. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I know they're making their demands. What I think we need to be doing is because they've successfully severed DHS from the rest of the spending
Yep.
package so that they could solely focus on DHS. And if they close it down, they only shut down DHS. But keep in mind, ICE is funded and CBP are funded and a huge supplemental slush fund from the big ugly bill, which zero Democrats voted for. So in order to be effective, Bernie Sanders, a lot of people don't realize this, but Bernie Sanders, I call it the Sanders Amendment, passed. No, it didn't pass, but every single Democrat
Yeah, that was
voted
a couple of days
yes.
ago, right?
Yeah. On the Sanders Amendment, which was to claw back that slush fund, defund ICE, basically,
The
so
seven,
that it
folks, it's 75
billion.
billion dollars. That should be, I think,
Mhm.
a prerequisite.
Now, I was honestly shocked by that. I didn't think the entire Democratic caucus would come together on that, but what it shows is that they're willing to defund ICE, or at least to vote to defund ICE on the record. And 2 Republicans voted for it too, Collins and Murkowski. And now that we've got the Republicans up against the wall, now that we've severed DHS from this spending package, when it comes back to the Senate, what I think we need to do is, yeah, there are multiple demands to reform ICE, um, which I'm pro that because ICE operates regardless. We can't abolish ICE right now because we don't have, first of all, we don't have the White House, and you have to actually have a new law to dismantle ICE. But we don't have any majority in either house to be able to completely defund it. But we certainly can call our senators and tell them to demand the Sanders Amendment, demand to defund ICE, take this $75 billion slush fund away from them so that if we do have a government shutdown, ICE cannot continue to
There you
operate.
go.
Or if they
There you go.
do, they don't get paid, right? So that I think is something we can do. And now because of the stopgap for DHS, in order to sever DHS from the rest of the spending package, there's a 2-week stopgap to continue DHS at its current levels while we hash this out. Um, Tell your senators, whether they're Republican or Democrat. It doesn't have to just be the Democrats. Every single Republican is also on the hook for this. We keep kind of leaving them out of the equation. But make sure you tell them that you want the Sanders Amendment. You want to defund ICE. If the Republicans say no to that, um, and the government shuts down, ICE continues to operate. Okay, that's why they're also asking for stuff that's already in the law, by the way. But they're also asking for body worn cameras. You can't go into my house without a judicial warrant. You got to put your ID badge. You have to be clearly identifiable. No masks. All of you have to cooperate with local investigations, i.e., the murder of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. You have to hand the evidence over, things like that, so that if the Republicans do shut down DHS, ICE doesn't just continue to operate unfettered, that there are some restrictions on it. So I am personally, you can't reform ICE, but you also can't abolish it until you have at least one of the houses in Congress and a president in the White House willing to sign a bill to dismantle the Department of Homeland Security altogether. But we can certainly press them to defund. It's going to be up to the Republicans, okay, because we don't have enough votes to defund ICE. But we did have a unanimous vote for the Sanders Amendment. And if we can demand that, I think we will get the votes. But please keep in mind, if we don't get that and we shut down the government, ICE continues to operate unfettered. And that's where those 5 or 6 reforms come in to at least get them to make a promise. Will they hold to it? Probably not. But that is political suicide for them. It's going to make things worse in the midterms. Of course, they might not care because of what Tulsi Gabbard is trying to do with Donald Trump to maybe seize voting machines this November, based on some sort of made-up foreign election interference. I'm waiting for the day that Maduro signs a confession that he stole the 2020 election for Joe Biden.
It was me. I did it.
I did it.
You're
I used
desperate.
Jewish space lasers through Italian satellites, and we did it.
But I
But
agree. I
that's my
think
concern.
we
So,
have to go just on offense.
mhm.
You have to just negotiate from strength. You have to put Republicans in the back foot and you chip away, chip away, chip away, because you want to make it clear that Republicans are perfectly fine with ICE, which now has lost the majority of Americans and is losing now, folks. It's losing white Americans. It's losing um, non-rural white voters. 50% think it's gone too far, and non-college whites, about 55%. So once you start getting to those numbers, you start getting the Trump's base. That is political kryptonite for Republicans, because now they're seeing ICE terrorize white folks, kill white folks, terrorize Minnesota, Maine, and they're like, "Yo, we didn't vote for this. What the f's happening?" And now, like going back to your point with the Grammys, the reason why I liked it is because you saw them respond to the people on the ground and then amplify the message that the grassroots is saying: "ICE out, ICE out, ICE out." Bad Bunny said it. You had Billie Eilish say it. You had Joni Mitchell with the big ass ICE out. You had Justin Bieber and his wife. You had different ethnicities, different genders, straight people, queer people. You also had different genres of music coming out. That shows you it's multicultural, right? It isn't just people of color and hip hop. No, it is across the board. And I'm very curious to see. I have no faith in them whether or not in the upcoming Oscars these cowardly actors say anything. But I think it'll be good if a few do. Jane Fonda, yes. Mark Ruffalo. The rest have been pretty weak so far, really weak at the Critics' Choice Award and SAG. But then again, who runs Amazon
And the
Studio?
Globes too. It was kind
Huh?
of yeah, and the Globes too. It was kind
Right? Nothing, just meh. But that's why I think the Grammys was key. Allison, great reporting as always. Shamelessly promote yourself and the piece, which I'm going to link to again.
Thank you. Yeah, just please, it's free to subscribe to the breakdown to my Substack. Everything's always free. All my podcasts are free. Everything I do on Substack is free. Everything on Midas is free. But we do have memberships. So what I would like to do is if anybody wants to become a member of, we call it the Leguminati. That's the Daily Beans uh, membership.
2 points for the nerd humor.
Thank you. It's how, NPR works. About 3% of our subscribers are actually paid subscribers. It's the podcast is $3 a month. That's
You should
patreon.com
get that
slash
to at least 5, Allison. That's not good, man.
that's
3%?
patreon.com slash Mueller, she wrote. Substack is a different thing. I can't remember what it is right now, but if you have the means, everybody is so paycheck to paycheck right now. So and again, all my stuff is free no matter what. I want everyone to be able to see everything that I
We
do.
got to get Allison to at least 5%. 3% is just unacceptable. I know, because I was at 3%. And then I did this 25% special and then I got a little bit up. So, which is nice. Even 5%, we're terrible capitalists. It should be up to like 7 to 10%. But she's at 3. That's gross. We have to get Allison, inshallah, to at least 5% of the people listening to her should be paid subscribers. It's all free. She does everything free. Fantastic reporting, fantastic tips. Like the left hook. She's a terrible capitalist. Everything's free here, folks. No paywalls. I just put the link to her new piece. From there, you can subscribe and become a paid subscriber. I've continued my 25% off special only because people said it really helped them. So it's the link is here, the lefthook.substack.com/special. It's $3.75 a month. But if not, it's free. It's $37 a year. If not, it's free. If you aren't a paid subscriber, that's okay. At least just subscribe. You'll get this information. If you find it helpful, please share it. Thank you all for joining. Some people ask, "Are you okay, Waj?" I woke up, I think, with you can hear me sniffling, and then Allison, as soon as we recorded, goes, "Are you okay?" I've been winding down progressively as the day. I used what limited energy I had, Allison, and I think now I'm at the tail end of it. So I powered through this one, but I think I might tap out. I got something. I don't know. I think I got my daughter's also sniffling. So I woke
Mhm.
up. I woke up today. I'm like, body feels broken, so tired. And my wife's like, "Why are you freak? Just cancel." I'm like, "No, must continue." So I've been going 3 hours straight. Allison knows she's similarly a masochist. But I think I'm going to tap out. But I'm going to have all this up later. There's 2,700 people watching. We'll have this up later on Allison's breakdown, which you must subscribe to, and the left hook. Thank you all for watching. Earlier today, real quick, Allison, I had Ryan, who did a fantastic piece connecting dots about how Jeffrey Epstein tried to dismantle democracy by essentially associating with right-wing actors Peter Thiel, Steve Bannon, the founder of 4chan. Then we had Miles Taylor talking about how there is a concentrated effort by not just Donald Trump, but his attorney general, also Tulsi Gabbard and the FBI to go after our voting rights because, of course, they're going to leave peacefully, aren't they, Allison? And of course, Allison talked about the tipster that talked about it ain't just Jeffrey Epstein and the island, also Mar-a-Lago and Donald Trump and the modeling agency as part of this turnstile of sex trafficking. And not just sex trafficking, folks. In the Epstein files, the latest allegations are that these girls weren't only just trafficked and raped, some of them allegedly disappeared. And by disappeared, I mean killed. It's disgusting. And this mother effer is the president of the United States of America. It's so gross, Allison. I sit there and think about it sometimes. I mean, it's America. This man is the president of the United States, Allison. It's just disgusting.
It's
Uh,
exhausting, but get some sleep. Everyone also on you guys, spend some time with yourself. Take a little bit time off, unplug. We got the watch. And we really have to take care of ourselves. If we're you get punching Nazis takes a lot out of you. So
I'm saying something I should never say to a woman. You look great, but you look like me a bit tired, like you haven't slept over the weekend.
don't worry about me. I'll be fine.
That's oh yeah. So it's terrible. It's like pot kettle black. Alice and I are those people like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine. Don't worry about me." I'm like, "Alice, I think you're bleeding profusely." "No, it's just a flesh wound." "I think that's an artery." "Don't worry about it. I just need a band-aid."
I'm
Uh,
not dead yet.
I'm
No, I'll be fine in a moment.
I have to record one more. I'm like, I think we need to take you to the hospital only after I record. Let's go live. Allison is one of those people as we head out. Unfortunately, I feel so terrible. Anytime I need someone reliable, even on a Saturday and Sunday, I go to Allison and like 9 out of 10 times she says yes. And each time she says yes, I tell her, I wish you would have said no, but selfishly, I'm happy you said yes. Thank you all. Take care of yourselves. Please subscribe. Allison, please rest. Pot kettle black. Take the own advice you gave the rest of us. I think I'm going to go take a nap, folks. Everyone, take care of yourselves. Be kind, be informed, and please don't be a fascist.